Hey there, Ghoul friends. I'm Piper,
And I'm Matt.
and this is Two Ghouls, One Podcast, where we like to discuss all things current, classic, and obscure.
And today, Joe Lam, the writer, director, various other positions on the Fetus crew, was kind enough to join us for a interview where we'll discuss the Fetus and numerous other things, probably.
So let's get into it. Hey, so we're here with the director of The Fetus, and we're going to be interviewing him today, asking him a few questions, picking his brain a little bit. Uh, Matt, do you want to start us off with some with a question?
Sure. So you wrote and directed the Fetus. Is which of those do you kind of prefer? Are you more of a writer or a director, or do they just both come to you naturally?
Yeah, what's interesting is like for me, you almost can't have one without the other because you have to. If you're going to direct, to me, you have to know writing because even if I didn't write this, I would need to know how to fix things along the way because things change with production, location, cast, just plot points, and if I were given the script, I would still need to know how to fix it. And so it's a marriage of the two for me personally. But my preference, directing, because that is just it's the greatest experience I could ever have on this planet, is being on a set with a bunch of people who just have a love for telling the specific story that we're telling. Because it's so collaborative, I'm able to share it versus writing. I'm just alone with my thoughts and my feelings, just writing and rewriting and adjusting. But when you're directing on set, it's actually taking all of the nebulous forms and thoughts, it's just solidifying it into the real world, and it's magical. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it sounds like you kind of get to see it come to life a little more when you direct rather than if you just write it and then someone else kind of puts the words to visual.
Right, because in a sense, when someone reads a screenplay, they're going to be affected in a certain way. But to me, it's unless you're just a phenomenal writer that you just make people bawl their eyes out when they read what you've written, it has less of an impact than when you're watching a film with the visuals, the sound, the music, the emotions, and everything going on. It's like it's more than just words on a paper. You're just getting hit with so much, and it has the ability to affect people at a deeper level.
Yeah.
And that's what I see in the difference.
Yeah.
And then you could write a script and somebody else direct it and just ruin what you had envisioned.
That too, yeah.
Yeah. So what inspired you to make this film?
Well, I thought about something that I wanted to see that I'd never seen before. Originally, honestly, I was offered a low budget horror script to direct into a movie. And it was based off of my last short film because it was an action thriller. We won 56 awards, and I was shopping it around at Virtual Can and sent it to like 10 producers, and it was the 10th one. His name is Joe Barbagallo. He said, "Oh, this is pretty good. I'd like you to direct this horror movie that I have." And I read the script and I was like, "Oh, it's like this guy killing 3 demonic women in the forest." I was like, there was just the substance wasn't there for me.
Yeah.
So, to each their own. People were going to make the kind of films they want to make, but for me, I needed something a lot more deeper with a lot more meaning and levels involved with it and moral dilemmas. And so I said, why don't I write something that's similar in cast, locations, budget size, and develop it, and I'll help you, raise the financing for all of this. And I wrote a short 3-page outline, sent it to him. He looked at it, and then I said, okay, you know what? in 1 month, I'll give you a completed screenplay. And he was kind of like, yeah, right, Joe. Yeah, okay. People talk. This is Hollywood, right? But sure enough, it's 30 days later, delivered the first draft, and it wasn't the Fetus yet. And he looked at it, he said, well, this is good enough to develop. So we went ahead and did a partnership. And then from there, it eventually evolved to becoming the Fetus, because I started off with that guy in the forest going after three demonic women. But I figured, like, instead of just like having this, these three entities going after him, he's defending himself and killing them. Why not have some kind of way to merge the two together and complicate things? I combined the three women into one, and they were in a relationship, and then had this half human, half demonic Fetus. And from there, it was like, well, how did she get that? Right? So I had to create more backstory with the father and all these things, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but yeah. And the main thing is, I wanted to see something that I'd never seen before, and it was something where, what if this thing was ejecting out of a woman, attacking people, and going back into her, and how does she deal with that? What are all the ramifications?
Yeah.
And you can't just cut it off, because you could just die. So it's life threatening at the same time. So.
And it is a horror comedy, like it's labeled horror comedy and not just B movie that ended up being funny. It's like legitimately the humor is there. Like Lauren's reaction to several things is just hilarious to me. Was that a hard balance of the comedy and the horror with even some family drama in there?
Well, it's funny because the way that I write, like, I'm not intending to be funny when I write. It would just come out like that. My original thoughts of creating this was it's just to make a horror movie. But I had another producer read it. His name is Brent Trotter, who came on board. And he's like, Joe, this is funny. This is really funny. And I'm like, okay, like I'm not seeing it, right? But then when we got the cast on board, and they were able to pick up on the humor as well. And then so I started leaning into that, because originally I was like, no, I'm a serious director and all that. But it's like they're like, Joe, you're a funny guy. You just show it in a different way. So it's very situational humor. This is not like slapstick. It's not Will Ferrell. It's not Adam Sandler. It's born out of what is happening, and also the ridiculousness of the situation, and the fact that they're so serious and buying into what's happening. It makes it even more funny to me, I think.
Yeah, Bill Moseley, his performance kind of reminds me of Matthew Lillard's in Scream, where everything around him is so serious, but he's just so honed in on the humor.
Yeah, and with the actors, they were able to pick it up. Like I said, it was, to me, if it's on the page, they say if it's on the page, it's on the stage. And it was just really my job just to hand them the script, hand them the characters, and they knew what to do with it. I really didn't have to say, oh, you got to make this funny, you got to go serious here. I mean, it's all comes down in the casting, because there were other actors that auditioned, and some of them, they didn't get the humor in it. They saw only the serious side. And so if I were to pick those actors, the comedy wouldn't be there. We wouldn't have all these laughs that people get from it.
So how did you go about the casting process?
Well, Bill Moseley was the first. He was my top 3 choice.
Yeah, good pick.
And luckily, we made the offer to his team along with the script. And he told me later that within 3 hours of receiving the script and reading it, he said yes. And he signed on. And I was like, wow, this is this is great. Yeah. And he has such a body of work and a following, over 130 films, 40 years in the business. That's why we felt it's good to cast a veteran actor before the younger actors, because the younger actors would most likely have less of a following unless they started when they were teenager or adolescent. Mm-hmm. And as a result, it also attracted other talent that were excited about the project because they knew of Bill Moseley. And then the second person we brought on board was Lauren. And she beat out 7,500 actresses for the
Wow.
part. We had, casting notices going out, actors access, and she was so good in her self-tape audition that I literally tell people, like, I could take that moment, cut it into the movie, and just because the emotions that she's pouring out, like, you wouldn't even notice that it's a different location now and she's by herself, you know. So she was so dialed in, and she was the character. She fully understood the character. She wasn't ramping up, figuring out who the character was. And it's, the other actresses were great, but she just nailed it right off the bat, literally with the watery eyes and everything in the audition. The third person we brought on board was Julian Curtis. 3,500 actors auditioned for that part. And again, because he understood the humor, it was that fine line. We narrowed it down from like 10, 5, 3 people down to 2. And it was just like, which one do we go with? And I'm like, he's got the humor. He just understands it without me saying anything, without me explaining anything. And that is a very, very tricky thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Have that line with dramatic and humor to cross over back and forth. Not everybody can do that. I don't believe. I'll be honest, or do it as well as he did.
Yeah, all the performances are just phenomenal, and I mean, that's a testament to your directing too. Even if you just turned them loose and didn't give them any direction, that's still sometimes the best direction. So you did the creature effects too, like you supervised that. Um, at the start, we see Lauren like in a kind of demonic state. I was wondering what inspired that design, because it kind of pops to me like a tiefling from Dungeons and Dragons. I was wondering if maybe that had a little bit of influence.
That's interesting. I grew up playing D&D
Oh, nice.
when I was a kid, so and the video games and the board, the board games and all that stuff. But it's really a testament to Alex Rojas, who's our two-time. He's a two-time winner of the equivalent of the Oscars in Colombia,
Oh wow!
and he is our special effects makeup artist. And he would do all these drawing renderings and concepts, and then send them over to me. And we did have a very short time to pull this all together, but he would nail it most of the time right off the bat, except for just a few changes I would tell him here and there. And he did it in a way where it's from his own imagination. And so I didn't give him much direction. I just wrote the script, handed it to him. I said, you come up with what you think works for this. Because, yeah, I could be heavy handed and say, okay, do this. Here's all these references and make it like this. But I want to know from the people I'm working with, what is inside of them? What do they see when they read the screenplay, and let it come out? Because then it's a collaboration versus like dictation. I don't want them to just do what I want. I want what's inside of them, because it could like far surpass anything I could imagine.
Is what's inside of them a bit of a pun considering the movie?
I wasn't meant to be, but yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. So, were there any like challenges you faced while making this movie?
It was a lot of challenges. Yeah. I'm one of the producers on this as well, so I'm very meticulous when it comes to the preparation, and I tend to be a little more overhanded in that. Um, but it's really because I was just been so used to producing over a dozen short films. Um, I've directed 12. I produced 20 short films, and I don't like it when things fall through the cracks. And so, leading up to the shoot, I'm double checking everything to make sure we have all the little things that we need in place, and everyone's being scheduled, and the housing, and the food, and all this stuff. My hands are in all of it. Yes, I rely on my team, but at the same time, I just have a sense of what needs to be done at certain periods. And so, going into it, I was very exhausted for the 3 weeks that we shot in Pennsylvania because of that. I didn't have a break during the 4 months of pre-production that we had. But then during set, of course, there was people drinking coffee,
Yeah.
and coffee gives me a paralytic effect where I will be bedridden for 3 days for up until noon each day, which is crazy, but it smelled so good. And I picked up a cup, I drank it. And so because of that, I had to drink that or like Celsius or iced tea every single day to just caffeinate myself.
Mm.
And it was, yeah, I was internally like off the wall. Like my system was not normal. So unfortunately, but the good thing is I had such a great team on set that they were able to carry things forward, even though I was so exhausted at times. That I would dip in and out. But the great thing is we were so prepared with everything that we were able to pull through. There are some days that were cut short, like there was the bathroom scene in that liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
That bathroom scene, we were supposed to have 2.5 hours to shoot it. It turned into 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, we had to just cut it down and still make it work, and then grab an extra shot where the thing is flying at a green screen studio
Mm.
a year later. Not only that, we were rained out for one scene in the forest where Chris and Maddox are wrestling. That was supposed to be a bigger scene, but we had to just cut it down. And like all my storyboards, I was just like, okay, cut it down to these 5 shots, because we had to pull out, wait for the rain to stop, and then we got those 5 shots, and then we made the scene work in a hurry. So it's things like that come up. Last thing I'll mention is, of course, like the practical effects. The arm of one of the creatures got stuck like this, so where it's trying to walk, right? It's just hitting like I was like, oh my god, how do you fix this? Like, but luckily, our puppeteers, they had to go in and like pull the wire back so it would adjust itself, and then they had to glue or tape it, and so we would lose some time like that, but they managed to make it work, luckily. So yeah.
Yeah, that bathroom scene is one of my favorites in the movie. It's great, and it's surprising that that's one of the ones that was cut short, and kind of a Jaws moment maybe, where less ended up being more. So the short you made, the thriller, are you going to try and pursue that now, or are you going to try and line something else up? Where it won this awards as the script. Do you have that lined up next, or?
That's an action thriller. I was planning to make that my first movie, but because it would have cost like $3 million, so yeah, that's why the producer said, I can't back you for that. Let's do a horror movie first, and then if that's successful, then we can get you for a bigger budget film. But along the way, it's called Fugitive Zero. If anyone wants to watch it, they can go to fugitivezero.com. It's always going to be up there. Along the way, I came up with what I think is a better story. It's more high concept, because it's about the criminal justice system, and this one was more like grounded in reality and like closer to present day technology. But there's a new story I came up with that was just a lot more mind bending, more like Minority Report and Memento combined. And I was like,
Wow.
oh my god, yes! So I'm writing that now instead.
Hell yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you hope audiences take away from your movie?
That's a good question. I would want them to take away. Oh, it's tough because if I say it, it kind of it affects the experience of someone watching it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you
for
don't
example,
want to.
I encode like certain messages and themes in the story, and for me to like, explain it, it's
That means they can't
I would
come up
rather
with it
people experience it.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in a more, if I were to take a step back from explaining the messages in the story, I would say a fun roller coaster ride
Hmm.
with characters that are really engaging, that you want to follow, you want to sometimes hate at first, and then you see how they grow as a result. So you start to like them, and just get the deeper meaning inside of it. This is not, to me, this is not just entertainment. It's not just a movie. It's not just, the kills. There's something else there. And that's why I have reports from a lot of people. They say, Joe, I've watched it several times. I've watched it, two, three, four, a dozen times. And I'm just shocked. I'm like, wow, how can you spend so much time watching this? I have one guy, he watches 100 movies a year
Hmm.
and he ranks them. And he said, Joe, I never watch a movie twice in the same year. He said, but I'm watching yours again. And he actually ranked, out of 26 movies this year, he ranked it number 3 on his list.
Nice.
And it's like, I'm like, what's number 1 and 2? He's like, oh, Nosferatu, and then this Will Smith movie, or Will Ferrell movie. And then The Fetus is number 3. I was like, are you kidding me? Those are like multi-million dollar movies, and we're like this little dinky, independent film. So I think people are getting what we set out to make.
Hmm.
So it is hard for me to explain. Besides what I just mentioned, Viper. So I hope that helps.
No, that was a good answer.
Yeah, I've seen 2 from this year, and it's my number 1. So it beat the monkey so far.
Well, really, this is The Fetus is number 1 for you. Oh, you've seen 2 movies, so it's still
Right.
early in the year.
But I love it. I think it'll end up in my top 10 come December.
Wow.
So yeah, I love a good bonkers horror comedy, and you definitely delivered there. It's
Oh, thank
great.
you, thank you. Yeah.
So you have written that book on how to write a comedy successfully. Are you planning on making that a series or anything?
Oh, that book back there. It was because my first movie was going to be a teen comedy.
Mhm.
And so to help market it, when I was meeting producers, I was pitching over 200 producers this teen comedy, which I had the screenplay for, and then I directed a trailer for, and we won an award for the trailer. And the thing cost like $8,000 to make the trailer. Um, this is back in the day when I was really struggling, just like in my 20s.
Mhm.
And I wrote that book because I figured, like, oh, producers get screenplays all the time, and people value books. And if I give them the screenplay and the book, they're more likely to remember me and keep the book, and hopefully something will come of it. Nothing ever did, because I found out that even though they liked the trailer that I made, they said that they can't sell it worldwide.
Mhm.
They said, Joe, I wish you would have spoken to me before you did this, because thrillers sell, horror movies sell, action sells, teen comedies, family dramas, or things like that. They don't sell overseas. Like, when you do a Thanksgiving movie or Christmas movie, it's mostly U.S. based, because the rest of the world, don't necessarily have the same holidays as we do. So that was a big learning lesson, um, that that was kind of expensive.
Or you could do a sequel to the book now, how to write a horror comedy. Just
Well, I have a book coming out called Delivering the Fetus.
oh yeah.
It's about the making of this movie. Not only that, we have a visual photo book, kind of like what I did for Fugitive Zero, where the book is going to have like all this stuff inside of it. Like, we're going to have, this thing is hard to open. We'll have all this, like the visual journey of making the movie.
Nice.
Because we did a Kickstarter campaign, and I wanted to do that to force myself to create some of these merchandise, and even a documentary that we have. It's going to be a 60-minute documentary called Inside the Womb, the making of this movie. And we've already captured, I think, like 14 interviews with the cast and crew. and so we'll be working on editing that pretty soon. So,
Looking forward to that. That's awesome.
Very clever titles
how you
inside.
like
Yeah.
you like it?
Yeah. So, what was your favorite scene or scenes to film and why?
I have two favorite scenes. The first one is with Lauren Lavera, her back against the wall, screaming her head off in the most intense way. And I tell people that before this moment happened, this film was iffy for me because we wrote this wild storyline with just craziness happening. And for your listeners, you don't pick that up from the trailer. We keep a whole bunch of things hidden from you, but it was such a wild story that I was unsure if it was really going to work or not. But towards the end of this 3 week shoot, when she was screaming her head off, I mean, the needle went from like I'm unsure to wow, like we got something. I literally felt it in my body, like this vibration, where I was like, we have something here. This is gonna work. It's gonna take a lot of work to polish it, but that moment, it just solidified because it was the culmination of everything leading up to that. And if this moment didn't work, if it wasn't believable for the audience of what's going on, uh, then it would have fallen apart. And I'm sure you know what the scene is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what it is. And the second thing is out in the forest, nighttime, Bill Moseley pushed in a cart with Julian Curtis in it, and he's singing. You got the character is saying, you're a psychopath, and the guy is singing, and Bill Moseley singing was just, it's so odd and eerie, and he's doing some stuff that he shouldn't be doing, but the fact that he's able to relax and like behave that way, it was just like, I'm not used to seeing something like that. I've seen TV shows and movies where you've got the serial killer and they're all always serious and like brooding and dealing with their trauma. But to have someone like that start singing, it's just odd, because you
Yeah.
got like a range of behavior going on. So those two scenes filming were just, to me, it was like the top.
So let's say hypothetically they are like, you can remake, make a sequel, reboot any franchise that exists. What are you picking?
Reboot any franchise. I don't really think that way, to be honest. Mainly because I come from the stance of I want to see something I've never seen before. I don't want to retread anything. I don't want to just do cash grabs. If someone offered me a whole bunch of money to do something that's a rehash of something, I'm not going to take it. I just won't. I absolutely will not, because I'm not here on this planet for long. I believe that I'm here to leave certain gifts in the form of film, and it has to be unique, fresh, original. It's got to be something that advances the genre. That's my take on it. And so I don't think that way. If something came across and it was, let's say, a remake or a sequel, but it is something totally fresh, original, unique, then I would consider it. Yeah.
So no, Joe Lamb's Fast and Furious 13.
No, not interested. Not, but again, unless it was something so wildly different than what the series has done before,
Mhm.
and not just bigger, bigger, bigger of the same thing, which that tends to what happened, and people flock to it. you know, uh, but again, there are plenty of directors who they can pull from to do that and do it justice in the way that they're looking for. I'm not that director.
It's very respectable. Like, I would like to think if I was like gaining momentum as a filmmaker, I wouldn't do it too. But I might see that Marvel money and be like, you know what? Yeah, I'll do. I'll do that one.
Okay. Well, and in the realm of other horror movies and stuff, if you had to be trapped in one horror movie universe, which one would you choose and why?
Oh, that sounds bad. Oh my god! What? I'm looking for what's like the lightest
Yeah.
horror horror movie to be in. Oh my god! Oh my god! Wouldn't want to be there with Chucky. That's for sure. Um, Rosemary's Baby? No. Exorcist? Oh, oh my god. Um,
I would say for
yeah.
me, definitely no Freddy Krueger because I need my sleep, you know? Like,
Oh yeah, because he's inescapable.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, this is like It Follows. Oh
Oh, yeah.
no. That is tough. The Alien franchise. Jeez. Oh, no one's ever asked me that question before. That's a very very good question. I may have to get back to you on that. That's
Yeah.
just freaky. My mind is just running through now. I'm
Yeah.
picturing myself running away from these guys.
I'm
You
like,
know,
I'll
guys and
take
girls.
Friday the 13th because I don't plan on going to summer camp anytime soon, you know? Like,
Oh, yeah, maybe some ghost one. Like maybe like Conjuring or something like that. Because
yeah.
ghosts don't really like. I'm weird. Like I believe I've seen ghosts and spirits and all this stuff, and I've just seen some weird stuff growing up. I don't see anymore, but
Hmm.
that's like normal for me.
Yeah. You'd feel like safest in that kind of realm rather than,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. If they're just moving stuff, opening drawers, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'll just
Yeah.
close it. It's like-
I actually needed some silverware anyways. Thank you.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. Oh, you guys asked some great questions.
thank you.
You mentioned Rosemary's Baby, and we got Apartment 7A, Immaculate, and The First Omen last year, and then you got The Fetus this year. Were you worried that it would get lumped into like the whole Antichrist?
Good question. Again, this I'm loving the questions, you guys. Uh Not really. I mean, I saw Immaculate, and like filmmaking is so tough, but I need stories to be a certain way. I need a character that I can really follow from beginning to end, and for me to want to watch the movie over and over and over again. I tend to watch the classics more than I do movies today, and honestly, I watch a lot more movie reviews than I do current movies nowadays because of that. Because I want to like vet the movie before I go into it. I've just seen so many that like because I understand storytelling structure. If I watch a movie 5 or 10 minutes into it, if it's not structured the right way, I have to just turn it off. It's very unfortunate, or I just fall asleep a lot of times. Um, and so I wish that wasn't the case because to me, movies have been almost like church. I mean, I'm not religious, but as an example, that's where I used to go and just like get refueled all the time. I would used to go to like this small three theater independent movie theater and just see all these gems all the time. Um, but nowadays, when I watch movies, I'm just not getting it, and it's almost painful to me as a result. But I wasn't worried about it, and I heard the reviews of First Omen and Room. I think it was Room 7A. You said, and it didn't bother me. I just had to focus on making the best movie that we could
Mhm.
because it's in its own world and it's not as heavy-handed, I think, as what they did as well, based on some of the reviews and what I saw with Immaculate. Immaculate, the ending was phenomenal, but honestly, leading up to that, it did not grab me. So
Yeah, it had a weird little spin on it that I kind of appreciated, and then the end was good. Sydney Sweeney was great though.
yeah, I agree.
And
She's
then
always good. So
yeah, but yeah, your movie's very different. It's just I would with those so fresh in their in everybody's mind, in my review of The Fetus, I was like, this is not an Antichrist tale. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's not the Antichrist.
So I want to
Yeah.
know, what is the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Exorcist, hands down.
Yeah.
I saw it when I was a teenager. Probably not something my parents should have allowed me to see. And I may have seen it once after that, but I never need to see that movie again. I just don't.
Yeah.
There are certain movies like that, or Requiem for a Dream, I Spit on Your Grave. I don't need to see it again.
One and
The
done.
images, the moments are burned into me that I can just recall, and I'm like, oh God,
You've been
yeah. Exorcist
traumatized.
freaks me out.
Yeah.
It freaks me out. Another one that is the runner up is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That movie, I literally thought it was a documentary. I
Yeah.
thought it was like someone had a camera and that really happened. I just for yeah yeah that's a painful one. Yeah.
What's a movie you wish you could watch again for the first time then?
Wow. Oh my God. You're like stumping me with these questions. It's like my what's a movie I would want to watch again like for the first time?
Yeah, no
Wow.
context, no no I am your father, like
Yeah.
all fresh.
Yeah. Okay. It would be. It's weird. I would say Aliens, the James Cameron. But the thing is, I still absolutely love it. It's to me, it's the best like horror action movie ever made. And but it feels new every time I watch it too because the story is so engaging, the characters. But yeah, if I were to wipe my memory and I would see it in the theater, I saw it when I was a kid on TV. Just the little square TV back in the day, back in the like the 90s, I guess. So I didn't get this full theatrical experience. But if that would be it, yeah, Aliens.
That's a great movie.
Okay, I'll ask you a lighter one. Uh, give you a little breathing room here. What is your go-to movie snack?
Like go to movies. Oh, snack,
Yeah.
actual eating, not like.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Um, go to movie snack.
Yeah, you go to
I
the
mean,
theater.
it's usually popcorn. Because I want to support the theater when I do go, so I'm always getting popcorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing too sugary. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a nachos kind of gal.
Mm.
I get
Nachos are good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get popcorn too.
Bunch of normies.
Yeah, well, they started giving me the salt, like the popcorn salt, and a little water cup with like some holes punched in it, so I can use it as a shaker. Yeah, they know me now.
No, you got to bring your own, Matt. You got to just roll up with your own salt and pepper shake with
They have that like seasoned salt at the theater, though. You just can't beat it.
Gotcha.
So, do you have like like what's your favorite band? I know a lot of people can't pick just one, so you can give like a top five or something, band or musical artist.
Pink Floyd.
That was easy.
Nice.
Wow.
Although because I love their body of work, but they don't have my favorite song of all time, which is "Runaway Train" by Soul Asylum.
Oh, that's yes.
Yeah, that hurts. That one, I've coupled with the music video. Oh, it hurts every time I hear it. It does it for me.
It
So
should have been so much bigger.
they should have.
Okay, so I gotta ask this one, and if you don't want to answer, we can cut it from. I'll
Okay.
cut it. Uh, out of your three main cast members, and it can be like their characters, of course, but fuck, marry, kill. What you picking?
Say that again. What's the what kill?
Yeah, fuck, marry, and kill. You know the game, the
No, I don't know that game.
what? Okay, so like you have to pick one to sleep with, one to marry, and one to kill. If you're not comfortable, we'll cut
For
this
the three
part
cast
from
members.
the yeah,
Cast member?
from your three main characters in the movie. Like who would you prefer to be married to, one to sleep with, and one to just get out of here?
Right now, he's like, why didn't I make that
It would be
movie with the
yeah,
three
like
girls in the woods?
so Maddox is like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Because, you know, sleep with would be Alessa,
Yeah.
and then yeah, married would be Chris.
I think that's my choice too.
because when you're married with someone, you don't have to sleep with them, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah. From what I hear, typically that stops anyway. So is this start of movie Chris or end of movie Chris that you two are marrying?
well, that's because it would have to be end. I mean, otherwise, well, I mean, it doesn't matter because it's just
Yeah,
married on paper,
Yeah.
right?
right.
That's about it. So it's like,
You can get it annulled the next day. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's the strangest thing you've ever put inside you?
the strangest thing.
I'll throw you a bone and say go with a food if you don't want to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
like mine is squid.
There's nothing you know, it would be escargot. Ugh.
Yeah.
I nibbled a snail and it was hardened. And I was like, what? How do people eat? It was nasty. I just had to just little try it. I will never eat it again. Never.
Yeah, I've never
It's gross.
tried that,
I'd
but
like to say a food, but you should see some of my exes, you know?
I'd like to say a food, but if you saw my sock drawer, no, I'm kidding.
Do you have any like fun behind the scenes stories that you'd like to share with us?
Behind the scenes stuff. I don't know if this is fun, but Lauren Rivera took a tumble when she was running through the forest. She just ate it.
Oh
I was like,
no.
wow. And she rolled, she has the martial arts background, so she was able to, she fell, like, here's the camera. And so she's running, and then she fell and like rolled past the camera. We were all shocked. And she just got up and she was fine. So it was like, oh. Besides that, other behind the scenes stuff, I broke my director's chair. I sat down on it and it just ripped, went right through. Then I went to go sit somewhere else and like fell in between the wall and the bed suddenly. And that was a comical moment. But I'm trying to think what else, anything else that was interesting for behind the scenes. Not a whole lot else, to be honest. I mean, we were pretty serious about working, but it was fun at the same time. Oh, there is a moment where Julian Curtis was exposing his leg when he's laying down. This is towards the climax, and you know what's happening there. And I'm literally directing him, which I don't direct a whole lot. I let the actors just go for it, and they kind of just work out the rehearsals and beats themselves, and I just guide a little bit. But for this, he had his leg exposed, and the camera was close up on his leg. And the female crew was behind the monitor, and I'm sitting there directing, like, okay, yeah, slower. So, oh, no, not, don't go so fast. Like, go up and down and this and that. And it was almost like everyone picked up, like, almost like it was like a sexual kind of directing that I was doing. I didn't, but they, afterwards, I turn around, their faces are all red because they're all just, like blushing, watching, like seeing his leg on screen. And they all came in, were laughing, and he was, blushing as well. So that was a funny moment. Yeah.
So you have a quick little cameo in there where you pull up in a car. Is that like out of necessity, or are you planning on kind of just popping in like a little watermark?
That was because an actor had a family emergency and had to leave, or not leave, but I wasn't able to come on set. And
Mm.
I was asking the rest of the crew. I was like, "Can you guys, someone step in and do this? Like, I will pay you money to come in and do the scene." Like, nobody stepped up. Nobody, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I had to do it. And I do not like being in front of the camera in terms of acting. Like, interviews are fine, but yeah, that was so rough. I was like complaining. I was like, oh, just like bitching and moaning along the way, which is like, it's funny because I'm like the leader of like this whole group, and they're seeing me in a different behavior, like, yeah, and I was just sweating and all that stuff. It was just, I had to like wipe my face, and it was just, oh, it was so rough. It was so rough. Yeah, I did not like that. So
Well,
hopefully I never have to do it again, but I will if I have to. And so, yeah.
I think it
at
makes
least you had a
for
good director.
yeah.
That camera, just this blank black thing with the lens inside, is just like staring at you, and it's like, okay. Yeah, I do not like that. I
I
don't know how
like.
actors do it.
I think it makes for like a fun little Easter egg kind of. I enjoy that. Uh,
Yeah, as long as people don't get taken out of it. Like at our LA premiere, people were like, when they saw me. I was like, no, like stay in the movie. Maybe I should VFX someone else's face onto mine. Oh,
so you got some pretty heavy hitters in the horror community to play in your first full length feature film. Are there any others that you hope to work with in the future?
uh, I tend not to think like that, but if I were, the one person is my favorite actor all time, Daniel Day Lewis. However, he keeps retiring, and he's only coming out of retirement to be directed by his daughter in a new movie. So that's, yeah, I can't keep my hopes up.
So you got to get his daughter in on your next movie so that he'll come out of retirement for you.
Yeah, yeah, that would be. I mean, mind blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any advice you would give on people that are trying to come up in the industry? So, like, I know you started with what was it, Paramount and Werner Herzog's production company, doing like interns and stuff, intern stuff, not doing interns, doing intern stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Paramount. I was an intern on a TV show, and then there was Herzog Productions. It was behind the scenes DVD productions. It was Disney movies, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Bourne Identity series. But I was a office production assistant and then an office manager before I left. And if it's in terms of just working your way up, then I would say be humble, work work as hard as you can, be the hardest working person in the room, in the office, on set. Anticipate what people need. And so if you're just an assistant to a producer or director, if you know they like their coffee a certain way at a certain time, don't ask them. Just bring it to them at that time.
Mm.
And show the love for what you're doing as well. You got to be very careful. There's a lot of egos. There's some cynicism. There is some superiority. There's like this, I'm better than you. How can I use you to advance myself? Um, that's just the way it is in this industry. I'm not saying everybody is like that. I try to work with people who are not like that. I try to work with people who really have the love for the craft, for the story, um, and almost everybody that came on board because of the story and having the message behind it. We had a great time on set, and people would literally say, "Joe, this is the best set I've ever been on," and they would also say, they were torn when we had to stop shooting. They were like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And it was just very, very emotional because everybody just loved what they were creating. And it's just, when issues come aside, communicate as much as possible. Our set was not without some issues, some breakups between, certain individuals, and that happens. But if you're able to communicate and be open enough to just come to the table and talk to each other and resolve things, then you're the bigger person for it. And it's just that's the way to do it. It's that communication.
Like that answer.
Yeah, for sure.
So, who do you think is the most effective horror movie director besides Joe Lam, of course? And what aspects did you try to include, if any, in your film?
John Carpenter.
Great choice.
The Thing. How I mean, it's like, to me, it's like one of the pinnacles of horror, and you have so many, like, I guess, genres, subgenres within that movie. You've got the slasher, you've got the action, you've got sci-fi, you got the body horror, you have the creature feature. If you got some comedy in there, I mean, it's like, wow. So I did my best to make The Fetus like The Thing and Nightmare on Elm Street as well. But yeah, it's John Carpenter all the way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually, now that you've said that, I do see a lot of parallels to The Thing and to The Fetus, because, again, you get some comedy, you get a little drama in there, you've got, like, some body horror type stuff happening, so, yeah.
Yeah. John Carpenter is my personal favorite. So anything. Then I started thinking about the music in The Fetus too, because music's a big thing for Carpenter, and I was like, you know what? Thinking back on it, I can kind of hear a little tinge of Carpenter in there too. So I bet that maybe subconsciously you were like, you know what? I like that for some reason.
Well, the music, I let our producer Brent Trotter. He's huge on horror. He watches everything horror, and I let him run with the music and choose all of that. And I just let him have it.
You
I only
sound
feel like
funny.
others. I only like pointed out, this one music piece in the, what do you call it, the clinic, the hospital. I didn't like it at first. I really didn't. I just asked him to turn it down.
Mm.
He was pretty adamant about it, and then it grew on me, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's fine, leaving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sound really fun to work with. Like it's just a bunch of friends coming together to make a project, and not some guy that's just your boss just telling you what to do. Like it sounds like your lackeys get a say.
Yeah, honestly, I always feel like most people, they want to bring their best work, and you have to allow them to do that. There are, of course, you have some people that do a lot of talking, and they don't perform that well, and that's unfortunate. And so you have to deal with that. But it takes a lot of maturity to deal with those situations and how to figure out how to handle it. So.
Okay. I got one question for you. What is, if you have one, what is your favorite subgenre of horror?
Ooh, ah, sci-fi. Yeah,
You did
this
you
goes
did
back
say the
to,
alien.
yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
The Thing, Aliens. There's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. There's The Fly. It's like, well, these are all what do you call it? It's all body horror too.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of those is, I love it.
Yeah.
So, tell us, where can we find your movie? When can we see it? Give us your plugs.
Yeah.
Right now, we're in select theaters, March 7th. Most of it is in Michigan, and we're uh, looking to open up into more cities. We're low budget, so when you look at the roster, you have all these multi-million dollar movies, and then you see us, the Fetus. So it has not been easy to get into theaters. Our producer Brent has been working tirelessly to do that. Most movies do not get a theatrical release, so we're very fortunate that the movie theater chain MJR has slotted us in. We've got 1 week with them. We're running ads right now on Facebook, and we're doing podcasts and all sorts of things. And our social media person Allie has been posting like crazy. But if anyone wants to buy tickets, and if you're not in the area, if you still buy a ticket, you will get a digital version of it that you'll get to watch 1 month after it leaves theaters. Just go to thefetusfilm.com and you will see we have an offer. You can buy the tickets, it's just $15, and you get 3 bonuses. I'm all about adding value, so I'll run through the 3 bonuses real quick, which are: the first one is a 25,000 grand prize giveaway, where we will fly you and a friend to the actual cabin location where we filmed the Fetus. You'll get a $2,000 spending spree. You get these special effects prosthetics that we actually used the Fetus creatures from the movie, these mechatronic puppeteering creatures. You also get Lauren Levera's screen-worn wardrobe. Has not been washed. And I don't know why I have to mention that. The last podcast, they asked me that, so I was like, yes, it's not been washed. You get like a severed arm prop. You get a whole bunch of merchandise, signed posters, signed condom boxes. And then the second bonus gift is all these digital products, like I mentioned, the making of book, the visual photo book, the documentary film that we're producing. And then the third thing is you will get an actual postcard mailed to you featuring Lauren Levera from the movie as the character Alessa. And so that is something that's going to continue to run up until April 8th. That's when the giveaway ends, and these bonuses will end. So the sooner your followers can go in and get a ticket, the sooner they'll be entered in the giveaway, and they'll get a postcard as well.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's. Go ahead, Piper. Sorry.
Shut up. I was gonna say, I highly encourage people to go, even without the bonuses. It is well worth a watch, and it's really important to support small, sort of independent type films. And I mean, I've already seen it for the podcast, and I'm thinking about getting a ticket to enter anyways. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
I love this movie. It's fucking great. I'm buying it as soon as it comes out. You're gonna pay $15 to rent it on Fandango in 4 months anyway. Why not pay $15 to get all the bonuses? So
Yeah, I loved Bill Moseley in this. I'm primarily familiar with him through like his Rob Zombie films, and I feel like he's very over the top in those. And this is it feels like he's a person in this one. You get to see him act in a different kind of light and see something different from him, which I really liked. He was kind of the star of the show for me.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love working with him. So, but yeah, I do have to run. I have my next interview, but I got to say, Matt Piper, thank you so much for what you do and for you interviewing me and other filmmakers, because honestly, we don't have these big marketing budgets, and for you to support independent films in this way to help us get the exposure, I mean, it really, really means a lot
Yeah,
to me,
thanks for coming
so
on
really
with us.
appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. We're up and coming, so thanks for coming on. You're the biggest name we'll have for a long time.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, great, great. So, yeah,
yeah,
thank you guys.
Yeah,
thank
you
you.
have a
Have a
great
good
Okay,
one.
day.
all right, bye.
Bye.
Bye.